Let's move on to some water issues, because you've heard me talk before about the Paradise Dam, and when it was built by Queensland's Labor government back in 2005, it was meant to be a pivotal piece of infrastructure, a way to maximise Australia's horticultural boom and supercharge the Queensland regional economy. On the back of the dam's construction, given the reliable water supply it would deliver to the region, hundreds of millions of dollars of investment was ploughed into the local Bundaberg area, creating jobs and opportunity for that region. It's also enabled the region, and Australia more broadly, to be a significant supplier of fruit and vegetable for domestic and export consumption. This is all now at risk, the jobs and the export dollars, all because the dam that the Beattie government built was poorly constructed and now needs urgent repair. Queensland Liberal Senator James McGrath has been raising the issue of the Paradise Dam for many months, and he's now labelled it the largest infrastructure failure in the nation's history. He joins me now from Brisbane. James, you and I are on the same page. This is an issue the Palaszczuk government really wants to go away. And I thought to myself, when I first read reports a couple of months ago, that they were going to spend millions of dollars to cut the capacity of a dam. I thought, why on earth, in a country as dry as Australia, where we don't have enough dams in the first place, why spend millions making one smaller? But there's a bit of a story to this, isn't there?
Yeah, welcome to Queensland, where the state Labor government are not only not building dams, where we do have a dam, they're reducing the size of it. They've emptied the dam down to 42%, but it's flushed that water out to sea. So dam is only at 40% of capacity, and now they've done an inquiry into it. It was one of those classic government inquiries where it reported back on the Friday, and on the Monday, the bulldozers were already being parked at the foreshore of the dam. This is the greatest scandal, the greatest infrastructure failure in the history of this country. If this was in the triangle between Canberra and Melbourne and Sydney, it'll be on the front page of every newspaper. But apart from yourself and a few other journalists and campaigners who are raising this issue, it's barely raised a peep. And the Palaszczuk government are hoping that we all forget about it. And we can't forget about it.
This is a massive issue. I want to underscore. It's not just for all the local communities in and around Bundaberg. It's all the other horticulture producers, the agricultural producers who themselves, out of their own pocket, and the companies, etc., spent literally hundreds of millions of dollars putting in the infrastructure and the mature trees and all the things for almond crops and walnut crops and all the requirements of irrigation. What's the economic cost in and around that region and Queensland more broadly, James?
The estimate from Growcom and from the fruit and growers up there is $2.4 billion. That is not the boost, that is the cost. That is the smack that the Queensland economy, and more specifically the wider Burnett region, is going to take from this dam being reduced. Now, we've said, and the local growers have got one of the world's expert on saving dams, a guy called Dr. Rizzo, and he said, for spending $25 million, we can put some anchors into the dam to save the dam wall, and we don't have to reduce it. We don't have to take this $2.4 billion hit. This isn't a million. This is real money. This is real jobs and real businesses that are going to hurt because of what Labor have done to this dam.
Why was it built so shoddily in the first place, and why has it come to this, that it hasn't been picked up earlier or as you say, the money put in to repair it to full capacity before?
Because Labor, it's a cover-up. Yeah, this was one of Peter Beattie's grand achievements, but it sums up that Beattie government in terms of everything that they touched turned to mud and custard. Here is a dam that was supposed to build up the wide bay and the Burnett, and it did. People spent millions of dollars, as you said, investing in that region. Wasn't built properly because of the concrete mix, something pretty basic. No one's been held to account for it. They've had one of those classic inquiries where everyone said, oh, there's a bit of a problem here. And what they're hoping is that everyone forgets about it. Palaszczuk is going to sweep it under the sofa in the Premier's office, and we all move on. And we cannot move on. This is a scandal. This is a massive scandal.
No, it's
and we
massive.
need to hold this government to account.
I completely agree with you. While I've got you, I want to raise another issue. On Friday night, I spoke to a Queensland LNP politician, Fiona Simpson. She had uncovered, and I ask you for two reasons. Well, you're a Queensland senator, but secondly, you also worked in and around the party machine in Britain and in Queensland and in Canberra as well. There's been plenty of money spent here, quite a significant contract let out by the Electoral Commission in Queensland, the government, to allow Chinese-based coders to write critical software for the Electoral Commission in Queensland. Now, at a time when you in Canberra are literally spending billions of dollars worried about cybersecurity threats from China, you've got your Electoral Commission in Queensland giving coders based in Chinese basically the keys to the electoral roll, the keys to the voting system in Queensland. How is that allowed?
Well, good on Fiona for raising this with you. But this is just mind-boggling that the Queensland Labor government would outsource to China of all places and Wuhan of all the places in China to write the code for our electoral roll and our electoral system. One of the most important sacrosanct elements of Australian democracy is the electoral roll. It is the sanctity of the electoral roll. And what the Labor government have done is clearly gone to the lowest bidder, who happens to be some company based in China. This actually is another scandal. This is another problem with the state Labor government, and they believe that no one is going to hold them to account. You cannot allow any part of our electoral system to effectively be disenfranchised by sending it out of the country and to China of all places, where the code is being written in Chinese. This is something where Palaszczuk needs to be held to account, but classic Palaszczuk, she's just said, oh no, we'll do a review and we'll worry about it later. This is something that I'm concerned about in my role as chair of the Joint Standing Committee on Electoral Matters as to what's going to happen with the Queensland election on the 31st of October. Can the Premier give us an ironclad guarantee there will not be any issues with the reporting of data to do with the state election on the 31st of October? And can she give a guarantee that there'll be no foreign interference in Queensland's election?
Well, I think Queensland voters will be looking to you, James McGrath, to assist Fiona Simpson in asking those pretty serious questions, because we all know people say, let's have some electronic voting, let's have everything online. And as I said, we've just given the keys to a couple of blokes in Wuhan to underpin the system in Queensland. It's extraordinary. James McGrath, thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thanks, Peter. Toodaloo.